Hi, hello. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome. We've brought up procrastination a couple of times on this channel. I've also been thrifting a little more and have some pretty cool pieces to show you. So welcome to the thrifting and productivity crossover episode that nobody asked for. This is either going to be really entertaining or a complete failure, but either way, stick around as we talk about the different types of procrastinators and how they might dress if they thrifted, like me here. Not 100% of these outfits are thrifted, most of them are, but the statement pieces or the main focuses of the outfits are all thrifted, and I paired them together with some stuff I had lying around my closet anyways. Oh, and I'll also touch on a bunch of different strategies that can help you overcome procrastination, depending on which one you think you're a little more of. Figuring out which type of procrastinator you are can be a very helpful way of understanding how our minds work and also perceive challenges. Needless to say, these categories are not definitive, and if anything, you might find you are more of a mix of two types rather than checking off all the boxes for just one. Okay, the first one we'll talk about today is the anxious. The anxious procrastinator is not a quote-unquote lazy person. They have an innate urge to do well. It's just that there's a little something that's holding them back from throwing themselves in headfirst. This can be a fear of disappointing the people around them or being intimidated by other things that are associated with the task. For example, an anxious procrastinator may be keen on working on a graphic design project, but the idea of having group mates and socializing may keep them from doing their best in meeting, causing them to put things off and fall further and further behind. Big stress. In his international bestseller The Now Habit, author Neil Fiore describes procrastination as a mechanism for coping with anxiety associated with the starting or completing of any task or decision. If you think you are an anxious procrastinator, you may find yourself in situations where you overschedule, as it can be a way to help you feel better in the moment. It almost gives your brain this faux dopamine hit, because it sets an expectation for you to be more productive. You kind of look forward to doing the work and you feel like you're gonna do the work, but more often than not, we bite off more than we can chew. Big shoe. Since increasing the amount of time we spend on said project is not always within our control, because of things like deadlines, we end up sacrificing time from rest or periods between projects, thus impacting the quality of our work as well as our self-esteem, because we know we aren't producing our best work and we just end up feeling like we suck. Big no. Someone very wise sums this up pretty well. We often overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can achieve in a year. If you think you are an anxious procrastinator, try unscheduling. This means working backwards in terms of organizing your time. Instead of putting down slots for work first, block out time for rest and activities that you enjoy. For example, if you find yourself straying away from work and checking social media around 3 p.m. every day, give yourself 20 minutes to do so and build your workflow around that as much as you reasonably can. Essentially, manually pacing yourself and giving yourself a chance to decompress. This would hopefully give you the breathing space you need and also an opportunity to take a step back and look at how your time is actually spent in hindsight versus how you may think you spent it when you look at your super colourful and pretty calendar, allowing yourself to have a much more realistic and hopefully kinder expectations. The next type of procrastinator is a little more restless. The playful procrastinator is all about living their best life. Why spend hours on a dreary project when they could be going out and doing 99 other fun, exciting things? The playful procrastinator doesn't get stuff done simply because they do not derive any joy or satisfaction from the task at hand. While this does sound really human and kinda endearing, this thought pattern can be a little worrying and hint at a much more serious underlying issue. You might find yourself stuck in a perpetual cycle of comparing what you're doing to what you could be doing, leaving you constantly unhappy and always wishing you were doing something else somewhere else. And we don't want that, right? There is nothing wrong from wanting to get a sense of fulfillment from what we do. And doing good work doesn't have to come at the expense of having fun. What might help is structuring your to-do list a little differently. Typically, tasks are arranged in order of urgency and priority. For example, an assignment that's due tonight is going to place much higher than cleaning your room. In this case, time is the scarce commodity and you can clean your room anytime. That's all fine and dandy, but probably doesn't mean much to the playful procrastinator. What might mean a little more is alternating the tasks on your to-do list in terms of enjoyability. In this example, still have the assignment at the top of the list because that's really important, right? But after that, slot in an activity that you find a little more bearable, like spending some time on the upkeep of your indoor plants before cleaning your room. And if you enjoy doing your weekly shop, hitting up the grocery store after that. That way, as you go down your to-do list, an activity that you enjoy is never too far out of sight, helping with momentum and also keeping you on track as you go about your day. Needless to say, this is one that you'd have to exercise a little more self-discipline on, as it can be really tempting to just cherry-pick the things you want to do and sack off the rest. So don't do that. Or do, I'm not your mom. The complacent procrastinator has a bit of a habit when it comes to overestimating things, to finish something they set out to do, or the time it might take for them to finish a task. It can be pretty easy to slip into this thought pattern because when you think about it, chances are there is a reasonable amount of time between you and a deadline you have to meet. That is, before you account for everything else you have to do in the meanwhile. And before you know it, you're pulling an all-nighter again. While the complacent procrastinator does not have an issue with showing up, it is in the how they show up that's a little lacking at times. Their work can feel rushed and subpar because of this, and they can often come across as lazy and slightly disorganized. To help counteract this, try setting yourself your own deadline for a project. Holding yourself accountable to your own soft deadline would boost a sense of ownership you feel towards your work. And if you have trouble staying accountable to yourself, you could try upping the stakes by letting your friends and or colleagues in on this for a little more support. To positively reinforce this, you could also reward yourself by allocating the extra time that you save to other things that bring you satisfaction and relax you. This will also mean that you will not land yourself in the same situation again where you are racing against the clock to get something done, freeing up more room for creativity and hopefully quality. I think this next one is really popular, or maybe I'm just surrounded by a lot of them. For lucky last, we have the perfectionist. The perfectionist struggles with being able to meet deadlines because they are never quite fully satisfied with the work they are producing. They are often getting lost in the different tabs on their laptops and going down the rabbit hole when it comes to research. They are extremely receptive to ideas, maybe even to their own detriment, circling back again and again to fine-tune the smallest parts of their work, even at the cost of being objective and losing sight of the bigger picture. This can send them spiraling, and sometimes not even handing anything in at all, despite having done 99% of the work, which is really sad. Quite often, people that fall under this category are creatives and have a beautiful eye for detail. They also probably struggle with a hefty serving of self-doubt. Overcoming this sense of overwhelm can take quite a bit of practice and can very much feel like going against one's nature. If you think you struggle with this, you're probably a perfectionist and would fit right in my friend group. Try thinking back to the times you did not do something as perfectly as you'd like to, but the consequences were still the same as they would have been if you finished the task perfectly. Maybe you didn't have time to rearrange some documents alphabetically, but still managed to sort them out enough to know exactly where everything is. See how the world kept revolving anyways? Even though it's not revolving exactly the way you wanted it to. Keep that in the back of your mind, and that might help you going forward. Perfection is the enemy of progress, and being able to put your stamp on a product and send it off gives you a much better data point to get feedback from and improve on for the next project, rather than constantly being trapped in this washing machine cycle of questioning yourself. And like I said, these categories are not definitive. There are so many other ways of looking at this topic. It's like a buffet, but of undesirable behavior. Regardless, knowing what trains of thought you are more predisposed to can be really helpful in giving us clues as to how we can design better systems in our lives, so that we can continue creating and producing work that we know we are capable of. Which one resonates with you the most? I'm definitely somewhere between anxious and complacent, but let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, leave a cheeky like if you like this video.